Drum roll, we are live.
We are live.
We are
So,
live. We'll allow people to come in to change virtual rooms from the last room to this room. For those of you that are heading here from the last session on TMF maturity and storytelling, welcome. My name is Oliver Pierce. I'm the Director of Commercialization at Montrium. I'm joined by my friend Lindsay. Lindsay works in the eTMF services team. And we're going to be waiting for everyone to come in from the last session. And we're here with another product showcase, which is exciting, and our last showcase of the week, which is not as exciting, which is sad. But we're going to be tackling something that I think is super interesting and super important, which is really around author productivity and how to use technology and workflows within technology to empower not only the authors that we have within our organization, but individuals that are contributing content outside of our organization when it comes to TMF. So lots of really cool stuff going to be happening in today's session. So I think what we're going to touch on a little bit is to talk about how an eTMF doesn't need to be just a repository, right? We hear that a lot where people talk about, it's an end state. It's something that I have to do, and I'll do it because I have to do it. Ultimately, we're going to show you how you can use some of these tools, specifically eTMF Connect, to manage a document's life cycle. So, and a really great use case for this is sponsor documentation. So we're going to spend some time talking a little bit about that today with a couple different scenarios. All right, the gates are open, so we've got people coming in, which is nice. As always, I'd love to hear where you guys are joining us from. So if you guys want to let us know where you're watching from. Are you still in your PJs?
more importantly, can you see us? Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you see us and hear us? I hope so after that introduction. I'm concerned that people can't.
Me too.
I'm concerned now that people. Okay, people can see.
Yes.
Awkwardly, frantically messaging people at Montrium to see if people can see us and hear us. So anyway, awesome. You can see and hear us. That's perfect. Just so you know, there seems to be a small delay on when we ask the question and you respond in the chat. So if we're there like twiddling our thumbs, that's because there's a brief delay. We'll kick it off. We're going to be heading into lunch after this, so we can take as long as we need. But just to respect the time, let's kick it off. Hopefully everybody heard my introduction. If you didn't, poor you. But I'm going to give you guys a little bit of an introduction now to what we're going to be talking about today, which is a product showcase for eTMF Connect, streamlining author productivity with workflows. We're going to focus from template management all the way through managing documents through their life cycle and so on and so forth. My name is Oliver Pierce. I'm joined by Lindsay Cowan, and we are excited to be here.
Yes, very excited.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about what's wrong with traditional document management, because there are lots of wrong with traditional document management, specifically if we're not using the right tools to be able to manage that process. One of the main issues that we've been plagued with without systems is that we lack the standardization of formatting. And often, and I hear this over and over and over again, people use the document templates that they want to use, that they've saved on their desktop from 6 months ago. And so that can cause us a whole range of issues later on down the document's lifecycle. When we realize that we've been using the wrong template, when the document's been routed for approval, that can elongate the process. As I mentioned, team members are often creating documents on their desktop or in their system of choice, right? Like we've got the data management folks over there, and maybe they've got a system that they like working in. And so that makes it challenging often if we're looking to centralize that documentation in one place. It also makes it difficult to collaborate centrally, right? Like if we're emailing documents to individuals to collaborate and work on, most of the time that collaboration is happening on their desktop from their desktop. And even if you're using tools like SharePoint or Ignite or any of these other sort of more basic document management tools, there are some challenges there with collaboration too. One of the big issues with document management without the use of a system, of course, is naming conventions and standard nomenclature. It's often out of reach. If you've got an individual or a group of individuals that have implemented a standard naming convention, you can roll that out, train as many people as you can, but you still run the risk of people naming documents correctly, Lindsay version 3, and then that causes issues later on down the road with people potentially managing documents or editing or reviewing documents that aren't the most recent or relevant version. And then don't even talk to me about audit trails, right? Because if we're working in lots of different systems, if we're working some on desktop and some not, if we're sending documents to review via email, we have a very fragmented history of what's happened on that document, which is very difficult to piece together if we need to provide evidence of what's happened over the course of that document's lifecycle.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I'll hand it over to you, Lindsay. I've talked about what's wrong with it. Maybe you can show us what you can do, what's right.
What we can do. Well, a really great way to engage in active TMF management is to leverage the TMF for its document collaboration capabilities. When we talk about document collaboration, we don't just mean authoring documents or reviewing documents, but we also mean QCing documents and approving them too. Now, depending on your processes, you might identify there are types of documents that you might want to author from templates, review them, and approve them directly in the system. So directly in an eTMF, that will help you to speed up your finalization. Or you may have documents that are coming from vendors or sites and they're already finalized. And all you need to do is simply register that you've done a QC and that the document then can be stored in the TMF. So today we're going to take you through two simple scenarios, an active and a passive workflow. These are processes that could be completely configured by you based on your needs. But these are two of the most common use cases that we are seeing with our clients today. So the active use case, so the active document lifecycle, is one where you would author a document from a template. You could review it in the system, convert it to PDF, of course, and then apply an electronic signature before the document becomes finalized. So this is the first use case that we'll go through today. So I'll go over to eTMF Connect now so we can start the system demo. So we'll start over here in our Connect template center. So this is in eTMF Connect itself, and it's an inbuilt template center where you can have your templates for things like protocols or ICFs or whatever you have your templates for. And in here, you can even have things, you can have all of these templates set up in such a way so that your end users, they can create their documents from pre-existing templates later on in the staging area. So you can have even things like a monitoring visit report template, for example. That's one good example as well where that can facilitate doing a monitoring visit. So you can have your CRAs or your monitors who come into the staging area and create documents from those templates.
And just a quick question there for you, Lindsay. If we're able to have a central monitoring template that we use internally and then author that document electronically, is that going to help us facilitate some remote monitoring activity? Could that help us implement some of those things?
Absolutely, because you can even do it live while you're doing your monitoring visit. You could fill out your monitoring report directly from the template in the system and save it into the eTMF straight away. So this is going to help facilitate and speed up that whole process of creating the document and uploading it later on into the eTMF. Sure. So we'll go over to the staging area now because we're going to see that functionality in action. So your staging area is where you can choose documents from templates. So we have a button over here, add a document from a template, and we can create it based on one of those templates that we have seen earlier. So for example, I'll just look for one from the process zone 01, from the section 0101. I'll actually take a template from the trial master file plan. And you'll see in my template drop down then, I can choose a template that's available to me over here. And then I can go ahead and create that document. So this document is now being created from the template. So we'll just wait for it to be loaded. And then we can go ahead and take a look at it. So here in my indexing window, essentially, I have all of the information from that template. So the filing information, like process zone section, document type, and even the title as well. So I'll just put this one in here for the Prod A101 study. And I'll associate, or I'll give some metadata here for the revision number, and I'll make myself the document owner as well. Now we do see that we have the template here on the right-hand side. But one cool thing about this is we actually have a native integration with Word. So I can edit this template right here from the staging area. So I'm just going to open it up for you. You can see that the document has now opened up in Word Online. But if I want to edit this document, all I have to do is click on Open in Word, and the document will open up in the Word desktop application on my computer. So now you can see that document has opened up on my screen, and I can go ahead and author this document. So I'll put it in here for TMF Week Showcase. I'll just edit this. Simple example for today that I'm editing the document, and I'm actually editing it in the cloud. So when I go ahead now and save the document, this is being saved back directly to the system, to my inbox, to my staging area in my Montreal Connect environment. When I close this document now, all those changes are already saved back to the system, and I can prove that to you now in just a second, where we can see that in the Word Online version, when I refresh, we're going to see those edits are already made to my document.
So this is going to essentially, I'm not going to need to worry about, working in documents offline and then re-uploading them. I can start working on that document. It opens it up on my desktop, uses the Word that I always use with all my plugins and all my settings. And then when I'm done with my document, I can just close it and it syncs back.
Exactly. Yeah. So you have full confidence that it's all being saved back to the cloud. As we can see here, the edits are already here. So this is just saving all of that download, upload, process that you could be typically going through. In this system, it's already saved back to eTMF Connect. So I can go back to my staging area. I can just verify that all my metadata is entered. And all I need to do then is file away my document in my study. Now, because we had predefined what workflows this document type would go through, the system will just check, and it will send out the task to the relevant individuals then to complete those tasks in the system. So in our process that we're showing you today, the next step would be for this document to be reviewed by the reviewers. So we'll go over now to the task page, where we're going to see that I, as a reviewer, already have a task over here in my task list to perform a peer review. So multiple peer reviewers will receive their tasks at the same time. They're not only going to receive them here in this task list, but they'll also receive them via email as well. So when I open up my task page, we're going to see that we have all of the relevant information that I need to perform my review. So I have my document, and I have the document properties, or the metadata for that document. So to perform my review, of course, I'll be performing it on the document. So I can open up that document. So here we have, again, the Word Online version. You can go ahead and open that document up now in Word to perform the review. And you'll see that the track changes will automatically be switched on. So any changes, any comments that you're making, I can say this is a comment, or this is change per demo, and everything will be saved again back to the cloud. So now multiple reviewers can be in here at the same time. And what's cool about this is that you'll actually see all of the reviewers up here. So my initials are here, but if Oliver was in here too, we would also see Oliver's name here at the top as well. Now you can leverage any of the application features that you have for your Word application. So you can have track changes, like we said, like commenting, restricting access, or if you have any add-ons, plugins, whatever they may be for your Word application, you can do your review how you want to do it. Now, once you're finished doing your review, Of course, I'll close out my document again, and I'll go back to my review page, my task page, and I'll just close that task. And what happens then is the document owner who is responsible for the document, they'll be notified that that review phase has now ended, and they'll need to integrate any comments or changes that were made by the reviewer and decide if that document then should move on to the next step in the process.
And maybe if I can just jump in here, Lindsay, and just sort of talk a little bit about, we've talked a little bit about the next step in the process and the next step in the process, right? So at its core, the system has a file plan, and each of the documents that you're going to be managing in the system, you're able to define the settings for that document. What behavior do you want the system to manage from start to finish? And so you can decide how many rounds of review a specific document will need to go through, what type of approval a document would need to go through, and what route that life cycle has as it goes through from draft and through until final. And so whenever we're uploading documents or creating documents from a template, the system's going to look back at that file plan and go, well, what do I need to do with this document now? Who does it need to go to? What's the next step in the process? So you don't need to worry yourself, or your users don't need to worry, to remember what happens next on a document. The system's going to do that heavy lifting for you and send everybody that needs a task to go and do what they need to do in the system.
Mm-hmm. So it removes that thinking for the user, right? It's already set up in advance, which is great. So in today's case, with this document that has now gone through that review phase, the next step in this document's process is to go through that approval step. So I've actually received a digital signature task, and this is one where I can decide if I'm going to approve or reject the document. So we'll see now in my task page that, again, I have everything that I need to decide if I will approve the document. I have, again, a link to the document, which I can open up. I also have the properties as well. And then we'll see on my task page, I have the options to approve or reject. So in today's case, I'm going to decide that I'll approve this document. And when I do so, it'll bring me over now to apply my digital signature on the document itself. So when I come now to apply my digital signature, I can drag and drop that box wherever I need to on the document and resize it as needed. When I hit on sign, I can apply my digital signature, and then I just need to enter in my credentials, the reason why I'm signing, and then this digital signature will be applied to the document. So just let me zoom in on the signature so you can see it a little bit better. So we have my name over here, but then the part with the regulatory compliance. So this is 21 CFR and Annex 11 compliant. We have that signature applied here. So we have my name, the reason why I'm signing, and then that time and date stamp as well, which is super important. Then once I'm finished signing the document, the system will then send a task to the next approver in line. But if there are no other approvers that need to sign the document, if it's a case that I'm the last approver or the only approver, then this document will now be finalized in the system. So collaborating on documents in this way directly in the system will help you keep track of your documents in the process. It helps to avoid documents getting lost in emails, for example, or even having documents lost in non-compliance systems. But it's also helping you to speed up that time to finalization as well and spend more time, more precious time even, on tasks that hold more value. So we're now finished with the first use case of today. I'm now going to show you the slide for the second use case, which is a more passive document lifecycle. This is a life cycle that usually could happen if you're receiving documents from external sources, whether it's sites or vendors. So before those documents even reach your TMF, it's a really good idea to do an initial QC of those documents and decide if they're even relevant for the TMF in the first place. So this is a common case that we're seeing here where users can do an informal QC while they're indexing the document. And if these documents are received via email, or let's say from sites or from different vendors in the staging area to that study-specific email address, like we had seen in earlier demos, The system is smart enough because it's going to strip away those documents from the emails and going to place those documents into the staging area. So we'll see that in just a second. And once the documents leave the staging area, after that indexing is done, we can go through that inbound QC, a formal QC. And if the document passes the QC step, then it becomes finalized in the system. So let's go back over now to eTMF Connect. And we'll see from our staging area that we actually have received quite a few documents over here previously. So either they've been emailed over here to this study specific email address, or someone has dragged and dropped these documents over here and not yet indexed them. So the indexing process is what we'll go through today, and then we'll move on to our formal QC. So I see we have a site contact details document here, and this is the one that I'll use for our example today. Now, when I come to index this document, I have in my indexing window all of the metadata that I can enter or now apply and verify while I am doing that informal QC of the document on the right-hand side. So I can scroll through my document, check that everything is here, all the signatures are applied, everything looks good. And I can fill out the rest of the metadata fields. So if any adjustments need to be made to the document titles, so if you have a title, a naming convention that you want to have for your documents, you can go ahead and enter that in. Or if there's any dates that you need to enter on your documents, like approval dates or expiry dates or visit dates, whatever dates they may be, you can apply those dates as well. Once I'm finished filling out the metadata, then of course we go ahead and we file that document into the eTMF. And like what we saw earlier, the system will then check that predefined process that we had in place already for this document type. So this document type, site contact details, we had already set up beforehand that we want this document to go through a formal QC. So we're going to take a look at that formal QC step right now. So again, we'll go over to my task page. This is where I receive my tasks assigned to me. So we will see down here that I have my site contact details task for inbound records QC. Now, the reason I'm receiving this task is because I'm part of that inbound QC group, meaning I'm responsible for QC. So you can decide for each study who you want to have responsible for QC, and then they'll receive their tasks, not only here on the task list, but also via email as well. So let's go ahead and check on this task, and we'll see how we can complete it. So in my task for inbound QC, again, I have everything that I need to complete my task, the document itself, the document properties, and the instructions as well. But you'll see on my task page, this is where we're capturing that the QC was done. If we decide to approve the document, then the document will be finalized in the system. But if we decide to reject the document, we have multiple different options to choose from here. So we can reject because it's illegible, for example. We can reject because it was incorrectly indexed. But if you're not seeing the option that you would like to use here for the reason why you're rejecting, you can always use that last option here, reject other. And then you can enter in whatever comment it may be for the reason that you are rejecting the document. Now, for the other examples as well, for like reject incorrectly indexed, we do still recommend that you use this comment box to add in those additional details for example, for this example, where that document should be indexed. So let's say it was indexed in process zone 01, but it should have been indexed in process zone 05, then you can go ahead and enter in those details here. Once I'm finished deciding then if I'm going to approve or reject my document, I would click on OK. Now, if I have rejected my document, what will happen is the document owner will be notified because it's up to them then to resolve the issue, whatever it may be. So if it's incorrectly indexed, they would need to index it to the correct location. But in the example that maybe it was unsigned, they could obtain that signature on the document and re-upload that new version of the document into the system. So doing a formal QC of your documents in this way in eTMF Connect obviously comes with lots of benefits. So not only is it helping you to capture the quality issues on your documents, but it will make sure that you have a better quality TMF as well. So this will help you then make more informed decisions if you're capturing all of these details, so that you can then address any common issues and what those the culprits of those quality issues are, and then decide if maybe more training is needed for the individuals, or even if adjusting processes might help improve the quality of your TMF.
Amazing. As usual, amazing. The chat was going off the whole time. Lots of really great comments. People loving certain features and functions and so on and so forth. So super awesome to see that. If you guys have some questions on how certain functionality in the system works, you can throw it into the Q&A, or if you want to throw it into the chat, you can do that as well, and we'll try and answer some questions. At the same time, if you guys want to see your use case, if your organization is potentially evaluating a change of eTMF system, or if your organization is interested in acquiring an eTMF system for the first time, we are more than happy to take this in a one-on-one session, myself, Lindsay, whoever needs to be there from your team, to show you what your use case would look like in our system, and what it would look like on a day-to-day basis. If you are interested in getting that one-on-one private demonstration, all you need to do is write "I'm interested" in the chat. We're going to be exporting the transcript of the chat afterwards, and we'll have a member of our team reach out to you directly. So if you are interested, all you do is write "I'm interested," and we'll be happy to show you anything we looked at today, but also anything else that you're interested in seeing from a system perspective. Again, if you're moving from an existing system and looking at potentially seeing what else is out there that could benefit your organization, or if you're looking to move to a system for the first time. Let's have a look here. So Rahul asked, is there a version history that's maintained in the in the system for documents, Lindsay?
Yeah, absolutely. So the moment that the document is created to the moment it is finalized, there'll always be a version history. And the version history will actually capture everything that's happening to the document. So whether the document is being updated, so the document itself, right, is getting changed, or if the metadata has changed and what those metadata changes were as well. So everything will be captured, and you'll actually be able to access any of those previous versions as well from the version history function.
Amazing. I think that's most of the questions today. Oh, no, Joanne asked, on documents in the system, does everyone need to be on an assigned user account? I can take that question. So when it comes to working on documents within the system, yes, you need to be able to have an access. We want to make sure that we're able to capture an accurate audit trail of the individual that's working on those documents, or individuals. But of course, in our system, we have lots of types of users, different types of permission and access that you can grant. So it really depends on what you're looking to achieve. This is obviously a great example of, being able to take that question and that example into more of like a private, one-on-one session with your team, where we'd be able to dive into that question in a bit more detail. So again, if anybody is interested in seeing your use case in action, we can schedule a personalized demonstration. Just write "I'm interested" in the chat, or you can, at any point in time over the course of the event of TMF week until Friday, you can reach out to anyone on the Munchroom team, and we would be happy to schedule. Another really great turnout today, guys. Thanks so much, everyone, for jumping in and spending some time with us. We're going to take a short break today, a networking break, and this will be our last session for today. But tomorrow we have an action-packed day with lots of really, really amazing sessions, including the TMF Fireside Chat. This is an all-you-can-ask, so not all you can eat, but an all-you-can-ask panel discussion. You can ask any TMF question that you feel you need to the audience. So we've got representatives from sponsors, from CROs, from sites, from vendors, from the consulting environment. Everyone is going to be there. We've assembled an Avengers-like cast. When you leave today's session, the platform is going to ask you if you have any burning TMF questions. Please, 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 if you can or if you cannot attend tomorrow's session, just throw that question, throw a question or a couple of questions into that survey. That's going to help drive tomorrow's session. With that, I'll close today's session. I want to thank you, Lindsay, for being such a great partner in crime as usual. And I'll chat with everybody soon in the lounge next. So if you guys want to head over to the lounge, we can head over to the lounge and continue this conversation.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your time.